Hi there, welcome back. In our lesson today, we're going to talk about what does good look like. So yesterday, right, we started this journey. We said, okay, I want to see what the web has to say about me. And hopefully you completed the exercises. And so you have a pretty good sense for where you're at. So if I'm a prospect and I'm checking you out, is it going to be a positive moment of truth for me when I check you out? Whether I Google you or look at your LinkedIn profile or some of your other online pieces of content, like maybe a blog post or another social profile, or is it maybe not exactly as powerful as we want it to be? So how do we go from where we are to where we want to be? I found that we're not just going to bumble along here. What we're going to do is we're going to get a really clear picture of what good looks like. So what is the effect that you want to have when someone checks you out? If we can really get clear on that, then for the next couple of days when we're actually working on your profile and making all these optimizations, we're working towards a very clear goal. I know some of you are like, come on, Brad, I want to open up LinkedIn and get in here and start updating these things. And I want to say, I know, hold your horses. Like, we'll get out on the field. We're going to play ball. But we got to get a really clear understanding of our game plan and our strategy. So what I've got for you today is a couple of things. 3 mini activities that you can do that will help you really clarify what good looks like. And so what we're going to do, I've created 3 videos. So this is the first one, and I'll have the first activity in it, which is called Beginning with the End in Mind. Okay? And then once you finish this video, you'll do an assignment in your workbook. And then you'll watch the second video, Emulating the Greats. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a story, an epiphany moment that I had that allowed me to really see that we don't have to reinvent the wheel here, that you can do this very effectively by emulation, not copyright stealing, not plagiarism, right? Not copy paste. But when we understand what makes profiles great, then we can borrow those tactics and employ them on our own. And so I'm going to show you guys some of those best practices or how to get those best practices. And then after that video, you'll do a little bit more work. And then at the very bottom, there is another video, and it's about remembering the future. Begin with the end in mind. Now, what am I talking about here? This comes from a book I read when I was about 20 years old, actually. It's been a long time. Read it a couple times. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. This is just a must-read book if you have any sort of plans to ever work with other people on a daily basis. So as a sales professional or a leader, I would obviously recommend it. You've probably heard of it and read it. But the second habit in it, of the 7 habits, it's called Begin with the End in Mind. And what are we talking about here? The key point that I really want to draw on from this chapter of the book is that when we create things, we create it twice. We're going to create it first mentally, and then we're going to actually go and create it physically. And I've got a couple examples for you. So, for example, let's say you want to build a house, okay? But you're 12, right? So you can build a fort. So you just go outside and you get some wood from wherever you can, and you start hammering it together, and you got this pretty wonky creation, right? You love it, but no one's obviously going to buy it, right? It's not a real house. In comparison to, let's build a real house, right? If you're going to build a house, then we've got to come up with the architectural drawings, and we are going to make sure it's square, and we're going to build it to our plan, and this is a very impressive thing. And so the first idea that I want you to think about is with your social profile, especially today, we're going to really focus in on LinkedIn. I want to restate this. Some of you guys are going to be a little disappointed with this, but in this first week, we're really going to focus on optimizing your LinkedIn profile first. And then from there, you can actually go back and do these activities again for Facebook if you want, or Instagram. But again, this whole program is what's the 20% to get you 80% of the way there. I have found that the highest achieving producers, especially in commercial and in insurance, are really focusing on optimizing LinkedIn. So we're going to talk about LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is the house that we're going to build today. And the question is, are you building it like a kid, like a fort? You're just kind of throwing some random stuff up there and you don't really have a game plan? Or do you have a very clear game plan on how you're going to do it? And so when it comes to optimizing the profile and doing this, I hope that you can really get a clear picture of what you want it to do. And that's what this activity today is about. So that's part 1. Part 2 is the other metaphor I have is when it comes to using social media. So let's say you're going to have a game plan around actually sharing content and engaging with other people. It's less like a house. It's more, I like to use the example of golf. And what I mean here is, the house is a static thing, and you can say, okay, I have a profile image that's going to affect a certain emotion or clarify a certain message, and I'm going to write out my About Me section, and I'm going to get some recommendations that really focus on this portion of my work. You can really be exact on that. But when it comes to engaging with people, it's, that's fluid, that's live. And so when I think about golfing, as the second metaphor here that's important to understand is that when we're using our social media, and this does affect to a degree on creating it, because you're going to find, you think, oh, I thought that would work and it didn't quite work. I actually find the metaphor of thinking about playing golf works pretty well. Because what happens is, right, here is this nice woman, she's up on the, right, she's getting ready to hit the ball with her wood, and she's going to knock it down the fairway. Now, if she's going to create this mentally first versus physically, right, there might be that she's like, I don't know, I'm just going to look real quick and I'm going to hit it. Okay, that would be more like the 10-year-old building the fort. But what we want to do is strategically say, okay, let me look at this hole, right? How does this hole work? It goes down and then it dog ears, to the left. And so I want to think about where do I want the ball to land when I hit it with my Big Bertha, right? So we've got this game plan, this mental idea of what we're going to do. And then, of course, we do it, right? We just go ahead and hit our ball, and something magically happens, okay? It doesn't go where we want it to go, right? And this is what happens here, right? This is magically our girl is turned into a guy. I just use the imagery that I can find in the portals I get imagery from. But anyways, this guy, right, we'll say he's me, and this is probably more realistic, right? I'm sure that the intended effect of what I'm going to do here is going to get that ball exactly where I want it to be. And then you share your post, right? And something happens. It goes sideways, right? Not like horribly sideways, but it didn't have the engagement. Like we see this a lot on the marketing side. We're going to create this message, and it's going to go viral, and we're going to get all these hits, and then they launch it, and then boom, it falls flat. But then there'll be days where something happened, and they share it, and it just organic, it just goes like it was like a perfect hit. And so there's some strategy involved where we can figure out, what we want to do. So my main point here on this one is, even though we have hit the ball into the bunker in this example, right? We had an idea. If we know where the hole is that we're playing, we can make adjustments. And we can actually say, okay, this isn't exactly what I wanted, but I know what my objective is. I know what I'm trying to accomplish through the engagement that I'm going to have with people, or through the traditional marketing experience that's going to brand a specific idea. And so what we're looking at here is, when it comes to what does good look like, we have to understand very, very clearly what our goals are. And some of you are going to say, Brett, I don't play golf, right? You're going to say, I've never played golf. I barely know how to hold, the club. Is it called a club, right? I mean, we don't know. And so what happens is we go out and we do this, right? You're going to say, okay, Brett, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna create my LinkedIn profile. I'm gonna share some engagement. And all of a sudden we find ourselves like this poor guy, right? We are like, this isn't going exactly the way I want it to. Two thoughts. Number one is, it's okay. This is a learning experience, okay? We're not going to be doing, if you have clear goals, it's not like you're going to say, the hole's over here, and I'm going to turn this way, and then hit the ball that way. So if we understand what our clear objectives are for our social media, so what is the job, if your LinkedIn is an employee, what's its job? What's it trying to communicate? We're going to get into that here in a second. Then we can continually fine tune. So no matter where the ball lands, as we're playing through this hole, we have a clear destination for what we're trying to do. That's really an important focal point. So some of you guys, right, you're going to be like this gal, right? You're like, golf? Oh, I think I'm playing golf. I got an outfit on. I've got a stick, right? And once again, this woman is never going to win a game of golf because she's going to be on a horse and she's going to be doing things that make no sense when it comes to playing the game of golf. And so what we need to do, and that's why I'm here, that's why I'm your guide, is to say, look, I'm going to teach you the rules of playing golf. I'm going to teach you the rules of effective communication using social media to establish your brand personally and to create effective engagement that's going to lead people to feel rapport with you and to be willing to have a conversation. Not only willing, but be open and maybe even reach out to you because they see you as the solution that they're looking for. So what we want to do is we want to get you focused on the end point. Okay, what is the end point? So let's shift now, and when it comes to this beginning with the end in mind, let's go ahead and see if we can't really understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So I want you to grab your worksheet. This is your worksheet from the first week, the Sprint 1, and it's day 2, and it says, what does good look like? And we're really going to focus on this very top part. So if we look at this, I think I've got a screen. Let's just zoom in on this a little bit. What does good look like? To what end, and we're going to use LinkedIn as our example here, and again, you can come back later and do this again for Facebook, but what end will LinkedIn lead your prospects and clients? So if I'm a prospect, someone referred you to me, and I'm coming, I did a little Google search, LinkedIn came up number 1 on your name and the word insurance, and now I'm going to check you out. I want to see who you are. Okay? What do we want them to experience? And this is where it's really hard because we got our blinders on, right? We see, we get your mother-in-law, right? She still doesn't really like you that much. Like get someone like that to look at your profile and say, what are you seeing, right? And then what do you want it to see? What do you want them to see and feel and affect? So there's really 3 things here. We have top messages communicated. Okay, you can't share everything on a profile. So, this is first date material, right? I think I've talked about this before. We don't go for the ring on the first date, right? We see someone and we say, okay, this is the first date. How do I get a second date? So when we're thinking about this, we're going to be talking about how do I get the appointment? How do I get this person to give me their email? How do I get this person to trust me just enough to investigate a little bit more? So we're not going to hit them with everything, right? If there are these moments of truth in the buying process, it's going to be some of these moments of truth earlier on, these questions that they have, or these ideas, these things that they need to feel comfortable with. So what's the message that you want to communicate? And then we're going to talk about a desired emotional response, and then we're going to talk about calls to action. So there's kind of 3 layers or levels of what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to getting that clear picture of seeing the end from the beginning, right? So let's talk about the first thing, messages. So when you have messages, okay, we're going to create some messages. I think of this as the mind, right? So in fact, if we go back, you have the message, the desire, and the call to action. And I think of this as the mind, like what are you going to convince in their brain? What is the feeling you're going to have them feel? And then what is the action you're going to have them take as a response of those 2 things? It actually reminds me of a story I read. I first read it in one of the Heath books. I don't know if it was this one, Made to Stick. It might be the other one I've got around here somewhere. You might see it. It is Switch. But the concept is there is, in all of us, there is the elephant, which is our emotions. Big, it's ornery, it can do whatever it wants. It can really pull you one way or the other. You've got the rider that sits on top of the elephant, and he's your mind. And then you've got the path, right? So if I want to go down this path, then with a lot of willpower and focusedness, maybe the mind can say, okay, big elephant, I know you want to go over here and eat grass, but we're going to go this direction. It can kind of do that. But eventually it gets tired of pulling, and the elephant's going to do what it wants. So an example would be, I want to diet. Okay, if I want to diet, and the elephant's like, in us, we're kind of these split personalities. The elephant's like, I want to eat donuts for breakfast. Okay, I feel like pizza and donuts for breakfast. That sounds good, right? In the mind, you wake up, right? I call it skinny guy, fat guy. Fat guy wakes up, he's in charge. He's like, we're eating donuts today, baby. And then, right, another day when you wake up and you're so sick of fat guy, skinny guy somehow is taking over your brain, and he says, okay, we are going to diet. We're cutting out the white bread. We're cutting out the sugar. No more soda. And you do really good for a while. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and fat guy, once again, he's taking over, right? And so you have this tug of war going on in us. Like this is the reality of this metaphor. So when we think about people, we have to really think about what are the mindset that they have, and how do we make a clear connection and direction in their mind, so they're like, you know what? I see the benefits of a diet. This makes sense. I really want to do this. But somehow we have to align our messaging also with the right emotions. So we've got to tell that elephant, like, look, aren't you tired of feeling shame? Or, I don't even know the examples in this. I'm not a diet guy. But what you can see here is that if we're going to be successful, we have to have a message and a feeling that are aligned to go down whatever the path is that we have created for them. Okay, and then that's where the call to action is. Call to action is say, okay, I think we can satisfy the needs of the mind, the needs of the emotion, and we can move forward. And that's really the psychology behind what we're doing here. So here we go. Let's look at messages. So what does good look like? This is just 5 typical, I would say, categories of messages that you are going to want to promote. So you're going to think to yourself, what is the message that I want to effect when people engage in my social profile, when they read about me or they read an article? Because this message is going to be consistent. We want to make sure if this is your message, that it's consistent in the social posts you make, it's consistent in your profile, it's consistent in like a video you shoot or a blog post, like all these different things. They need to be consistent with this message. And so is it authority? You want to establish that, you know what, and it might be I've been in business for 50 years or 30 years or whatever it might be, or I've worked with the top agencies in this certain scenario. Sorry, I say agencies. I work with agencies. In your situation, it would be whatever the businesses are. Is it credibility? Do you see yourself as a partner? So then we've got pain. Okay, people are feeling pain. You might be tuned into that. That's an emotion that they're feeling. So your message is going to be, I can make your pain go away. Right? I can resolve pain. Like whatever that message is, you've got to think to yourself, and it might be you just are going to get prescriptive. I mean, descriptive. Prescriptive means this is what I want it to be, but descriptive would be think back on your existing clients. How are those relationships established, and what is it that they value in you? You know, and so part of the work we did yesterday, finding out, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. He won't do that till next week. Next week, we're going to do some awesome stuff. I'm establishing your superpowers and understanding what your unique selling proposition is, and we'll get really into that deep. But the idea here is, if I appreciate you because you did something for me, and I'm your client, what is the relation? How do I see this relationship? I see you as a partner. I see you as a consultant. You know, whatever that might be. And so we need to make sure we understand that and we clarify that. And like I say, we'll get more into that over time. But today, where we just really want to clarify what that is. I don't care if you don't understand how to make this happen. Like how, you might say, Brett, you know, I understand the vision of what you're talking about, but I don't understand how to, what is the word? Apply this, or I don't know how to update my profile in such a way that it's going to reflect that. And that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to worry about that. What we want to focus on is just making sure you have a clear vision for what that is. So, sorry, I'm gonna speed this up a little bit because you got lots to do today, and let's just get through this. So, painless, save money. Okay, I put the save money here because I don't think it's the best message for you to promote, right? Right? I mean, there's just all this data that shows selling on money is not really the best thing to do. However, if you're honest and you look at your profile, is that really your message? Is your message, hey, I can save you some money, right? So some of them out there are like, hey, I can save you money. And if that's it, then you have to be okay with that's the relationship that you're establishing, is that you're the cheap person, right? And so it's easy for us, especially if we're not an experienced salesperson, to not understand the value of these other aspects of your relationship. So really what we want to do here is think about what is the top messages that you want to communicate. I want you to write those down in here, and we'll stop the video here in a minute, and you can write this all down. But if you're feeling it clear in your brain, stop this video at any time, and then just write that down. So that's the first one. The second one is the emotion, okay? So now we're thinking about what is the emotion that I'm hoping that this person, you know, I've got this prospect and they're going through their buyer's journey and they run across me for whatever reason, they're checking me out. What is the emotion they're feeling, and what is the emotion you want them to feel? So maybe I'm feeling anxious. Okay, my buddy's business just went under because of a data breach, and now I'm looking at cyber liability, and I'm trying to figure this out. I'm a little nervous. Okay, what are they coming to you at? Is the messaging that you're creating responding to that emotion? And is it moving them to a new emotion that's going to help them strengthen their relationship with you? So, is it giving them peace of mind? Okay? When you look at your message, you can kind of read through it and say, okay, my profile, I'm updating it, and you're going to be doing that this week. Is my profile helping people see that I'm competent, I'm an authority, I'm a partner, and I can bring them peace of mind? I can bring them the emotion they're looking for. Emotion is so overlooked so often. We always think about the nitty-gritty messages, but it's the emotion that drives us, right? It's the elephant. It's huge. It's so powerful, and we've got to tune into that. Hope, intrigue, likability, confidence. Right? They're just throwing up a few examples here, and I think your brain is probably spinning some things over, and so you're thinking to yourself, okay, yeah, and this again, right? This is like golf. You might say, oh, I think it's this. And you kind of work towards that, and you realize, oh, you're in the bunker. You're still closer to the hole than you were before, but you're going to have to fine-tune a little bit. And over time, this isn't something you're just going to get the first time. You're going to come up with a clear understanding of what your message is and what is the emotion that your ideal client, right? We're not trying to put a big net in the ocean and scoop up every fish. We're just trying to figure out what are the buying habits and emotions of a certain type. There's an ideal client, right? It's the focus on specifics, right? Not just shotgun approach. And then finally, if we could do that, and this I see this all the time, we forget to add a call to action in the stuff that we do. So you've got a social profile, you got a LinkedIn profile, you've added some information, you made an update, it's on it, and you've got some stuff, but you're not asking people to do anything. And you're always like, this LinkedIn, it's a waste of time, right? I went to this seminar and I updated my LinkedIn, I did all the things he said, and this wasted my time, okay? If we forget to take action or ask our readers to take action, we really can't be mad at ourselves because they didn't do the thing that we implicitly hoped they would do but never made clear. So you really want to make it clear. Do you have a call to action? And I'll get into this, right? I'll get into it in the imagery. By the end of the week, I'm going to show you how to add calls to actions to like your banner on the top. And in the About Us section, when we know what our message is and we know the emotions we're trying to shift and respond to, and we know the action that we want them to take next, which isn't to put a ring on their finger and become a client, right? They're right at the beginning. This is first date material. We just want them to maybe connect with us so they can see more of our posts. What do we got here? Click, call, write, watch, think. Maybe you've created this really cool case study that really personifies the way you help someone, and it helps to clarify that message, establish the emotions we've talked about, and let them see someone else that you've solved their problem for that was similar to theirs. This is what we're trying to do with your social profile. Your LinkedIn is an employee, but it's not a closer. It's a leads generation. You're the closer. You're the salesperson. But what we can do is we can create stuff and share it there that starts to give people those moments of truth, or those moments that help them feel like, wow, I think this guy could help me out. I think she knows what she's talking about. This was really cool. This case study is really similar to what I'm dealing with. And so I'm going to forward this to my business partner. And now both of them watch the video that you created, or the document that you created. And maybe you have it on a landing page where you collect their email to give them that. And that's all stuff we can show you how to do later. But to begin with, right, we just have to understand the concept of what we're trying to do. Do you want them to click a button? Do you want them to go to a URL? Do you want them to call you on the phone and have a consult, right? I will give you a free consult where I will, review your certain situation, and maybe I can help you, maybe I can't. Whatever these things are, whatever your modality of sales is, right? We talked about this yesterday. What's your sales modality? Or actually in the webinar that starts this all, right? You've got a method of sales, a modality. What is that? And now can LinkedIn help people understand what that is so they know the way that you work? You know what I do is when you reach out to me, this is what I do. And then for those that say, okay, that makes sense, they're going to reach out to you. So whatever these things are, you've got to think about that. Again, I don't care if you don't understand technically how you're going to implement. That was the word I was looking for earlier, implement. If you're not going to implement this stuff in your profiles. All I care is that you understand that is the destination. That's where the hole is. So it's kind of like you're back here at the beginning of the hole, and you're on the fairway, right? You're getting ready to hit it with your driver, and you can't see the hole. It's down around the corner. You're like, I know it's down there, and we'll get there. That's kind of like this. It's like you need to know that there is a hole down there, that you have this objective, what that objective is. Even if you can't clearly see the path between here and there, that's okay at this point. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and have you fill out these first three things. To what end? So what's the top messages you want to communicate? What's the desired emotional response? And there could be a couple different clients. You might think of like this client and this type of client and this type of client, right? Maybe you have three different kinds of solutions that you really provide. You might have to do this for each of them. And again, you might say, Brett, I don't know how I'm going to clarify all three of these on a LinkedIn profile. That's okay. We just want to make sure we understand what that is. What's the message that you want to communicate? What's the emotions that they're feeling and that you want them to feel after they have an experience with you? And then what are the calls to action that you want them to do to take the next step? And you might even clarify what is the next step, right? You might map out I mean, we will do this in week 2. We will map out the entire buyer's journey from these questions through this, and so that way all these pieces come together. But right now we're kind of building some foundational stuff. Okay, that's it. Go to work. Go ahead and grab your worksheet if you haven't grabbed it already. Fill this out, and then when you're done, start the next video down below.